My name is Sam. In 2008, right after a painful divorce, I moved into a modest 5-bedroom house with my 3 kids. The house was big enough, the schools were close, and for $1,600 a month, it felt like a fresh start. The owner at the time was an elderly man, kind, soft-spoken, and never the type to meddle. Over the years, I rarely needed to call him. I was handy enough to handle repairs myself, and I always paid rent on time. That house slowly turned into more than just shelter. It became ours. As the kids grew up and eventually moved out, I stayed. It had become my home too. I built shelves, installed a small pond in the yard, added a smart home system, and even put up a shed. None of it extravagant, just thoughtful touches to make life smoother. The owner appreciated the care I gave to the house and never raised the rent. It stayed at $1,600 for 16 years. No drama, no problems, just quiet, reliable living. Then came 2024. One rainy February afternoon, I got the call. The landlord had passed away. I didn't know when it had happened. We hadn't spoken in over a year. But it hit me harder than I expected. A week later, a man showed up at my door. His name was Adam, the son. Cold demeanor, expensive shoes, fake smile. He said he inherited the property and wanted to inspect it. I let him in. That was my mistake. Instead of glancing around respectfully, he started opening drawers, checking closets, and even tried to access my personal documents. When I stopped him and pointed out the legal limits of his visit, he scoffed and told me things were about to change. That same week, I received a formal notice. My rent was going up to $4,000 a month, nearly double the market rate. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insulting. I would have accepted a reasonable increase. But that number wasn't about business. It was about eviction. He wanted me out. Fortunately, my lease had a clause. Any rent increase required 90 days' notice. So I told him I'd be leaving at the end of those 3 months. Then came the retaliation. A few days later, I received a formal eviction notice. Not for rent, but for unauthorized modifications. He cited the doggy door on the back door and my smart home additions. But I had kept everything within bounds, and I had proof, receipts, before and after photos, and, most importantly, the original door still in the garage. It didn't matter. We went to court. The judge didn't buy his reason for eviction, but said I had 30 days to vacate or face forced removal. And, crucially, all alterations had to be reversed. So that's exactly what I did.
When people hear reverse all alterations, they assume something minor. Paint over the wall, maybe take down some shelves. Not me. I took it to heart. If he wanted the house the way it was, I was going to give him exactly that. I removed every smart bulb, every smart switch, every hub, every line of automation I had installed. The pond? Gone. I drained the water, rehomed the fish, and filled it with dirt. The shed? Sold online and picked up in a single day. The closet organizers I had custom-fitted for efficient storage, all removed. Even the upgraded kitchen faucet I'd paid extra for, swapped with a base model I found at a thrift store. I went further. I returned the thermostat to the original manual model. I removed weatherproofing. I swapped new appliances with the cheapest functioning ones I could legally install. I had receipts for everything. When I walked out on day 30, I left behind an empty shell, not vandalized, not damaged, just precisely legally returned to its original state. Then came the lawsuit. Adam filed against me claiming property destruction. His lawyer argued that my upgrades were now part of the home and should have stayed. But my lawyer simply held up the judge's order. All changes must be reversed. I had documentation for every item removed, every fixture replaced. The judge ruled in my favor, and Adam had to cover my legal fees. But the story didn't end there. Months passed. I moved into a smaller place closer to my workshop and started fresh. I thought the saga was behind me, until I got a call. It was Adam's sister. She had tracked me down, politely asked if she could forward some misdelivered mail, and then paused. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Did my brother do something to you?" I hesitated, but ended up summarizing the events: the rent hike, the eviction, the court case. She went silent. Then she told me the truth. The house hadn't just been Adam's inheritance. It belonged to all 4 siblings. He had lied. He told them the house had negative equity, that there was nothing to gain from it. But the truth: the house had been paid off for years. It was worth over $700,000. He had planned to evict me, sell the house quietly to a rental conglomerate he was already negotiating with, and pocket everything. The eviction, the lawsuit, all part of him trying to clean the slate. But I had thrown a wrench in his gears. The house, stripped bare, couldn't be marketed as upgraded or premium. It was back to a basic structure, and the company offered him $150,000 less than his original deal. Worse, the siblings found out. They sued him for fraud, for deception, for excluding them from their rightful share. By the end of it, the house sold for $550,000. Adam got nothing, in exchange for not facing criminal charges. His siblings split the proceeds. Karma had done its job. After everything, the lies, the threats, the court hearings, I walked away with something stronger than property. Peace. Not just because I stood up for myself, but because I dismantled a con without raising my voice. My new home is smaller, simpler, but every light switch, every shelf, every fixture, mine. I know exactly where everything goes because I put it there. There's no landlord hovering, no legal tricks waiting around the corner. Every so often I drive by the old house. I see the new tenants. I wonder if they know the story buried in those walls. Probably not. But I do. Some say revenge requires fury, fire, and noise. I say, sometimes, justice is quiet, and it leaves no trace, except for a few missing smart bulbs and one very bitter con man.